Well, good morning, friends. Welcome. It's Sunday morning, 6:33 Central Time. Hope you guys are doing well. Live to you on Twitch. I'm West Tennessee Dave, and coming to you later on the Twitch VOD or YouTube VOD. So good to see you here. Good to see you then. Good to see you everywhere. Hope you are well. Make sure you guys comment every once in a while here, and if you're watching on YouTube or wherever else, comment there as well. Hi, Eric. Good to see you. Welcome. I always like to say hi to those who come in and want to journey this journey of the Bible stories with us. So speaking of, what are we going to read today? Let's see. All right, we got 2 Samuel 13 through 19, and let's give just a quick recap of where we left off last time. We are in the storyline of the kings of Israel for the most part. We're on the second king of Israel, which is King David. And we saw him a lot earlier during the first king, King Saul. But now he has firmly established the kingdom. Saul's dead, and he's been doing great until the very end of the last story, where he took another man's wife to have sex with her and then tried to cover it up and eventually killed the man so that the cover-up was complete. And God was not pleased with that and said, things in your family aren't going to go so well because of this situation. So here we go. We're going to see the story play out, and just like a little forewarning, this first story is not easy. It's not an easy story to digest, so be aware. Be aware. Okay. All right, here we go. Let's get a little water. Now David's son Absalom had a beautiful sister named Tamar, and Amnon, her half-brother, fell desperately in love with her. Amnon became so obsessed with Tamar that he became ill. She was a virgin, and Amnon thought he could never have her. But Amnon had a very crafty friend, his cousin Jonadab. He was the son of David's brother Shimei. One day Jonadab said to Amnon, "What's the trouble? Why should the son of a king look so dejected morning after morning?" "Good morning, Spacey. Good morning." So Amnon told him, "I am in love with Tamar, my brother Absalom's sister." "Well," Jonadab said, "I'll tell you what to do. Go back to bed and pretend you are ill. When your father comes to see you, ask him to let Tamar come and prepare some food for you. Tell him you'll feel better if she prepares it as you watch and feeds you with her own hands." So Amnon laid down and pretended to be sick. And when the king came to see him, Amnon asked him, "Please let my sister Tamar come and cook my favorite dish as I watch. Then I can eat it from her own hands." So David agreed and sent Tamar to Amnon's house to prepare some food for him. When Tamar arrived at Amnon's house, she went to the place where he was lying down so he could watch her mix some dough. Then she baked his favorite dish for him. When she set the serving tray before him, he refused to eat. "Everyone get out of here," Amnon told his servants, so they all left. Then he said to Tamar, "Now bring the food into my bedroom and feed it to me here." So Tamar took his favorite dish to him. But as she was feeding him, he grabbed her and demanded, "Come to bed with me, my darling sister." "No, my brother," she cried. "Don't be foolish. Don't do this to me. Such wicked things aren't done in Israel. Where could I go in my shame? And you would be called one of the greatest fools in Israel. Please, just speak to the king about it, and he will let you marry me." But Amnon wouldn't listen to her, and since he was stronger than she was, he raped her. Then suddenly Amnon's love turned to hate, and he hated her even more than he had loved her. "Get out of here," he snarled at her. "No, no," Tamar cried, "sending me away now is worse than what you've done to me already." But Amnon already wouldn't listen to her. He shouted for his servant and demanded, "Throw this woman out and lock the door behind her." So the servant put her out and locked the door behind her. She was wearing a long, beautiful robe, as was the custom in those days for the king's virgin daughters. But now Tamar tore her robe and put ashes on her head. And then, with her face in her hands, she went away crying. Her brother Absalom saw her and asked, "Is it true that Amnon has been with you?" "Well, my sister, keep quiet for now, since he's your brother. Don't you worry about it." So Tamar lived as a desolate woman in her brother Absalom's house. When King David heard what had happened, he was very angry. And though Absalom never spoke to Amnon about this, he hated Amnon deeply because of what he had done to his sister. 2 years later, when Absalom's sheep were being sheared at Baal Hazor near Ephraim, Absalom invited all the king's sons to come to the feast. He went to the king and said, "My sheep shearers are now at work. Would the king and his servants please come to celebrate the occasion with me?" The king replied, "No, my son. If we all came, we would be too much of a burden on you." Absalom pressed him. But the king would not come, though he gave Absalom his blessing. "Well then," Absalom said, "if you can't come, how about sending my brother Amnon with us?" "Why Amnon?" the king asked. But Absalom kept on pressing the king until he finally agreed to let all his sons attend, including Amnon. So Absalom prepared a feast fit for a king. Absalom told his men, "Wait until Amnon gets drunk, then at my signal, kill him. Don't be afraid. I'm the one who has given the command. Take courage and do it." So at Absalom's signal, they murdered Amnon. Then the other sons of the king jumped on their mules and fled. As they were on their way back to Jerusalem, the report reached David. "Absalom has killed all the king's sons. Not one is left alive." The king got up, tore his robe, and threw himself on the ground. His advisors also tore their clothes in horror and sorrow. But just then, Jonadab, the son of David's brother Shimeah, arrived and said, "No, don't believe that all the king's sons have been killed. It was only Amnon. Absalom has been plotting this ever since Amnon raped his sister Tamar." "No, my lord, the king, your sons aren't all dead. It was only Amnon." Meanwhile, Absalom escaped. Then the watchman on the Jerusalem wall saw a great crowd coming down the hill on the road from the west. He ran to tell the king, "I see a crowd of people coming from the Horonaim road along the side of the hill." "Look," Jonadab told the king. "There they are now. The king's sons are coming, just as I said." They soon arrived, weeping and sobbing, and the king and all his servants wept bitterly with them. And David mourned many days for his son Amnon. Absalom fled to his grandfather Talmai, son of Ammihud, the king of Geshur. He stayed there in Geshur for 3 years. And King David, now reconciled to Amnon's death, longed to be reunited with his son Absalom. Joab realized how much the king longed to see Absalom, so he sent for a woman from Tekoa, who had a reputation for great wisdom. He said to her, "Pretend you are in mourning. Wear mourning clothes and don't put on lotions. Act like a woman who has been mourning for the dead for a long time. Then go to the king and tell him the story I am about to tell you." Then Joab told her what to say. When the woman from Tekoa approached the king, she bowed with her face to the ground in deep respect and cried out, "O king, help me." "What's the trouble?" the king asked. "Alas, I am a widow," she replied. "My husband is dead. My 2 sons had a fight out in the field, and since no one was there to stop it, one of them was killed. Now the rest of the family is demanding, 'Let us have your son. We will execute him for murdering his brother. He doesn't deserve to inherit his family's property. They want to extinguish the only coal I have left, and my husband's name and family will disappear from the face of the earth.'" "Leave it to me," the king told her. "Go home, and I'll see to it that no one touches him." "Oh, thank you, my lord the king," the woman replied from Tekoa. "If you are criticized for helping me, let the blame fall on me and on my father's house, and let the king and his throne be innocent." "If anyone objects," the king said, "bring him to me. I can assure you he will never harm you again." Then she said, Please swear to me by the Lord your God that you won't let anyone take vengeance against my son. I want no more bloodshed." "As surely as the Lord lives," he replied, "not a hair on your son's head will be disturbed." "Please allow me to ask one more thing of my lord the king," she said. "Go ahead and speak," he responded. "Well, hello there, Soda Champ. Thank you for the raid. Let's go. Well done. Thank you. Hope you are well. Congratulations on a 5K PKO. Well done. Good morning. Good morning, Asibla. Great job." She replied, "Why don't you do as much for the people of God as you have promised to do for me? You have convinced yourself in making this decision because you have refused to bring home your own banished son. All of us must die eventually. Our lives are like water spilled on the ground, which cannot be gathered up again. But God does not just sweep life away. Instead, he devises ways to bring us back when we have been separated from him. I have come to plead with my lord the king because people have threatened me. I said to myself, perhaps the king will listen to me and rescue us from those who would cut us off from the inheritance God has given us. Yes, my lord the king will give us peace of mind again. I know that you are like an angel of God in discerning good from evil. May the Lord God be with you." "I must know one thing," the king replied, "and tell me the truth." "Yes, my lord the king," she responded. "Did Joab put you up to this?" And the woman replied, "My lord the king, how can I deny it? Nobody can hide anything from you. Yes, Joab sent me and told me what to say. He did it to place the matter before you in a different light. But you are as wise as an angel of God, and you understand everything that happens among us." So the king sent for Joab and told him, "All right, go and bring back the young man Absalom." Joab bowed with his face to the ground in deep respect and said, "At last I know that I have gained your approval, my lord the king, for you have granted me this request." Then Joab went to Geshur and brought Absalom back to Jerusalem. But the king gave this order: "Absalom may go to his own house, but he must never come into my presence." So Absalom did not see the king. What's up, Sean Solo? Good to see you. Hi. Hi, everyone. Thank you for those who came over with Soda Champ. This is West Tennessee Dave. Hi, that's me. And we are doing Bible stories. So welcome. Welcome in, Raiders. Appreciate it. I'm going to get back to the reading now, and then we'll have some discussion as we go along. Now Absalom was praised as the most handsome man in all of Israel. He was flawless from head to foot. Actually, let me do this as well while I'm thinking about it. Now Absalom was praised as the most handsome man in all of Israel. He was flawless from head to foot. He cut his hair only once a year, and then only because it was so heavy. When he weighed it out, it came to 5 pounds. He had 3 sons and 1 daughter. His daughter's name was Tamar, and she was very beautiful. Absalom lived in Jerusalem for 2 years, but he never got to see the king. Then Absalom sent for Joab to ask him to intercede for him, but Joab refused to come. Absalom sent for him a second time, but again Joab refused to come. So Absalom said to his servants, "Go and set fire to Joab's barley field, the field next to mine." So they set his field on fire as Absalom had commanded. Then Joab came to Absalom at his house and demanded, "Why did your servant set my field on fire?" And Absalom replied, "Because I wanted you to ask the king why he brought me back from Geshur if he didn't intend to see me. I might as well stay there. Let me see the king. If he finds me guilty of anything, then let him kill me." So Joab told the king what Absalom had said. Then at last David summoned Absalom, who came and bowed low before the king, and the king kissed him. After this, Absalom bought a chariot and horses, and he hired 50 bodyguards to run ahead of him. He got up early every morning and went out to the gate of the city. When people brought a case to the king for judgment, Absalom would ask where in Israel they were from, and they would tell him their tribe. Then Absalom would say, "You really got a strong case here. It's too bad the king doesn't have anyone to hear it. I wish I were the judge. Then everyone could bring their cases to me for judgment, and I would give them justice." When people tried to bow before him, Absalom wouldn't let them. Instead, he took them by the hand and kissed them. Absalom did this with everyone who came to the king for judgment, and so he stole the hearts of all the people of Israel. After 4 years, Absalom said to the king, "Let me go to Hebron to offer a sacrifice to the Lord and fulfill a vow I made to him. For while your servant was at Geshur in Aram, I promised to sacrifice to the Lord in Hebron if he would bring me back to Jerusalem." "All right," the king told him, "go and fulfill your vow." So Absalom went to Hebron. But while he was there, he sent secret messengers to all the tribes of Israel to stir up a rebellion against the king. "As soon as you hear the ram's horn," his message read, "you are to say, 'Absalom has been crowned king in Hebron.'" He took 200 men from Jerusalem with him as guests, but they knew nothing of his intentions. While Absalom was offering the sacrifices, he sent for Ahithophel, one of David's counselors who lived in Gillo. Soon, many others also joined Absalom, and the conspiracy gained momentum. As a messenger soon arrived in Jerusalem to tell David, "All Israel has joined Absalom in a conspiracy against you." "Then we must flee at once, or it will be too late," David urged his men. "Hurry! If we get out of the city before Absalom arrives, both we and the city of Jerusalem will be spared from disaster." "We are with you," his advisors replied. "Do what you think is best." So the king and all his household set out at once. He left no one behind except 10 of his concubines to look after the palace. Then the king and all of his people set out on foot, pausing at the last house to let all the king's men move past to lead the way. There were 600 men from Gath who had come with David along with the king's bodyguard. Then the king turned and said to Ittai, a leader from the men of Gath, "Why are you coming with us? Go on back to King Absalom, for you are a guest in Israel, a foreigner in exile. You arrived only recently, and should I force you today to wander with us? I don't even know where we will go. Go on back and take your kinsman with you, and may the Lord show you his unfailing love and faithfulness." But Ittai said to the king, "I vow by the Lord and by your own life that I will go wherever my lord the king goes, no matter what happens, whether it means life or death." David replied, "All right, come with us." So Ittai and all his men and their families went along. Everyone cried loudly as the king and his followers passed by. They crossed the Kidron Valley and then went out toward the wilderness. Zadok and all the Levites also came along, carrying the Ark of the Covenant of God. They set down the Ark of God, and Abiathar offered sacrifices until everyone had passed out of the city. Then the king instructed Zadok to take the Ark of God back into the city. "If the Lord sees fit," David said, "he will bring me back to see the ark and the tabernacle again. But if he is through with me, then let him do what seems best to him." The king also told Zadok the priest, "Look, here's my plan. You and Abiathar should return quietly to the city with your son Ahimaaz and Abiathar's son Jonathan. I will stop at the shallows of the Jordan River and wait there for a report from you." So Zadok and Abiathar took the Ark of God back to the city and stayed there. David walked up the road to the Mount of Olives, weeping as he went. His head was covered and his feet were bare as a sign of mourning. And the people who were with him covered their heads and wept as they climbed the hill. When someone told David that his advisor Ahithophel was now backing Absalom, David prayed, "O Lord, let Ahithophel give Absalom foolish advice." When David reached the summit of the Mount of Olives where people worship God, Hushai the Archite was waiting there for him. Hushai had torn his clothing and put dirt on his head as a sign of mourning. But David told him, "If you go with me, you will only be a burden. Return to Jerusalem and tell Absalom, I will now be your advisor, O king, just as I was your father's advisor in the past. Then you can frustrate and counter Ahithophel's advice. Zadok and Abiathar the priest will be there. Tell them about the plans being made in the king's palace, and they will send their sons Ahimaaz and Jonathan to tell me what is going on." So David's friend Hushai returned to Jerusalem, getting there just as Absalom arrived. When David had gone a little beyond the summit of the Mount of Olives, Ziba, the servant of Mephibosheth, was waiting there for him. He had 2 donkeys loaded with 200 loaves of bread, 100 clusters of raisins, 100 bunches of summer fruit, and a wineskin full of wine. What are these for? The king asked Ziba. Ziba replied, The donkeys are for the king's people to ride on, and the bread and summer fruit are for the young men to eat. The wine is for those who become exhausted in the wilderness. And where is Mephibosheth, Saul's grandson? The king asked him. He stayed in Jerusalem, Ziba replied. He said, Today I will get back the kingdom of my grandfather Saul. In that case, the king told Ziba, I give you everything Mephibosheth owns. I bow before you, Ziba replied. May I always be pleasing to you, my lord the king. As King David came to Baharaim, a man came out of the village cursing them. It was Shimei, son of Gera. He was from the same clan as Saul's family. He threw stones at the king and the king's officers and all the mighty warriors who surrounded him. Get out of here, you murderer, you scoundrel, he shouted at David. The Lord is paying you back for all the bloodshed in Saul's clan. You stole his throne, and now the Lord has given it to your son Absalom. At last you will taste some of your own medicine, for you are a murderer. Why should this dead dog curse my lord the king? Abishai, son of Zeruiah, demanded. Let me go over and cut off his head. No, the king said. Who asked your opinion, you sons of Zeruiah? If the Lord has told him to curse me, who are you to stop him? Then David said to Abishai and to all his servants, My own son is trying to kill me. Doesn't this relative of Saul have even more reason to do so? Leave him alone and let him curse, for the Lord has told him to do it. And perhaps the Lord will see that I am being wronged and will bless me because of these curses today. So David and his men continued down the road, and Shimei kept pace with them on a nearby hillside, cursing and throwing stones and dirt at David. The king and all who were with him grew weary along the way, so they rested when they reached the Jordan River. Meanwhile, Absalom and all the army of Israel arrived at Jerusalem, accompanied by Ahithophel. David's friend Hushai the Archite arrived. He went immediately to see Absalom. Long live the king, he exclaimed. Long live the king. Is this the way you treat your friend David? Absalom asked him. Why aren't you with him? I'm here because I belong to the man who is chosen by the Lord and by all the men of Israel, Hushai replied. And anyway, why shouldn't I serve you? Just as I was your father's advisor, now I will be your advisor. Then Absalom turned to Ahithophel and asked him, What should I do next? Ahithophel told him, Go and sleep with your father's concubines, for he has left them here to look after the palace. Then all Israel will know that you have insulted your father beyond hope of reconciliation, and they will throw their support to you. So they set up a tent on the palace roof where everyone could see it, and Absalom went in and had sex with his father's concubines. Absalom followed Ahithophel's advice just as David had done. For every word of Ahithophel spoke seemed as wise as though it had come directly from the mouth of God. Now Ahithophel urged Absalom, is he saying Asibla? No. No, I didn't say Asibla. I said, what did I say? Absalom, Ahithophel. Yeah, Ahithophel. Okay. All these names, they're hard. Now Ahithophel urged Absalom, and Asibla wouldn't give that direction. Let's be honest. Now Ahithophel urged Absalom, Let me choose 12,000 men to start after David tonight. I will catch up with him while he is weary and discouraged. He and his troops will panic and everyone will run away. Then I will kill only the king. I will bring all the people back to you as the bride returns to her husband. After all, it is only one man's life that you seek. Then you will be at peace with all the people. This plan seemed good to Absalom and to all the elders of Israel. But then Absalom said, Bring in Hushai the Archite. Let's see what he thinks about this. When Hushai arrived, Absalom told him what Ahithophel had said. Then he asked, What is your opinion? Should we follow Ahithophel's advice? If not, what do you suggest? Well, Hushai replied to Absalom, This time Ahithophel has made a mistake. You know your father and his men. They are mighty warriors. Right now they are as enraged as the mother bear who has been robbed of her cubs. And remember that your father is an experienced man of war. He won't be spending the night among the troops. He has probably already hidden in some pit or cave, and when he comes out and attacks, and a few of your men fall, there will be panic among your troops, and the word will spread that Absalom's men are being slaughtered. Then even the bravest soldiers, though they have the heart of a lion, will be paralyzed with fear. For all of Israel knows what a mighty warrior your father is and how courageous his men are. I recommend that you mobilize the entire army of Israel, bringing them from as far away as Dan in the north and Beersheba in the south. That way you will have an army as numerous as the sand on the seashore, and I advise that you personally lead the troops. When we find David, we'll fall on him like the dew that falls on the ground. Then neither he nor any of his men will be left alive, and if David were to escape into some town, you will have all of Israel there at your command. Then we can take ropes and drag the walls of the town into the nearest valley until every stone is torn down. Then Absalom and all the men of Israel said, Hushai's advice is better than Ahithophel's. For the Lord had determined to defeat the counsel of Ahithophel, which really was the better plan, so that he could bring disaster on Absalom. Hushai told Zadok and Abiathar the priests what Ahithophel had said to Absalom and the elders of Israel and what he had himself advised and said. Quick, he told them, find David and urge him not to stay at the shallows of the Jordan River tonight. He must go across at once into the wilderness beyond. Otherwise he will die and his entire army with him. Jonathan and Ahimaaz had been staying at En-Rogel so as not to be seen entering and leaving the city. Arrangements had been made for a servant girl to bring them the message where to take King David. But a boy spotted them at En-Rogel, and he told Absalom about it. So they quickly escaped to Bahurim, when a man hid them down inside a well in his courtyard. The man's wife put a cloth over the top of the well and scattered grain on it to dry in the sun, so no one suspected they were there. When Absalom's men arrived, they asked her, Have you seen Ahimaaz and Jonathan? The woman replied, They were here, but they crossed over the brook. Absalom's men looked for them without success and returned to Jerusalem. Then the two men crawled out of the well and hurried on to King David. Quick, they told him, cross the Jordan tonight. And they told him how Ahithophel had advised that he be captured and killed. So David and all the people went with him across the Jordan River that night, and they were all on the other bank before dawn. When Ahithophel realized that his advice had not been followed, he saddled his donkey, went to his hometown, set his affairs in order, and hanged himself. He died there and was buried in the family tomb. David soon arrived at Mahanaim. By now, Absalom had mobilized the entire army of Israel and was leading his troops across the Jordan River. Absalom had appointed Amasa as commander of his army, replacing Joab, who had been commander under David. Amasa was Joab's cousin. His father was Jether, an Ishmaelite. His mother, Abigail, daughter of Nahash, was the sister of Joab's mother, Zeruiah. Absalom and the Israeli army set up camp in the land of Gilead. When David arrived at Mahanaim, he was warmly greeted by Shobai, son of Nahash, who came from Rabbah of the Ammonites, and by Machir, son of Amiel, from Lodabar, and by Barzillai of Gilead from Rogelem. They brought sleeping mats, cooking pots, serving bowls, wheat and barley, flour and roasted grain, beans, lentils, honey, butter, sheep, goats, and cheese for David and those who were with him. For they said, You must all be very hungry and tired and thirsty after your long march through the wilderness. David now mustered the men who were with him and appointed generals and captains to lead them. He sent the troops out in 3 groups, placing one group under Joab, one under Joab's brother Abishai, son of Zeruiah, and another under Ittai, the man from Gath. The king told his troops, I am going out with you. But his men objected strongly. You must not go, they urged. If we have to turn and run, and even half of us die, it will make no difference to Absalom's troops. They will be looking only for you. You are worth 10,000 of us, and it is better that you stay here in the town and send help if we need it. If you think that's the best plan, I'll do it, the king answered. So he stood alongside the gate of the town as all the troops marched out in the groups of hundreds and of thousands. And the king gave this command to Joab, Abishai, and Ittai, For my sake, deal gently with young Absalom. And all the troops heard the king give this order to his commanders. So the battle began in the forest of Ephraim, and the Israelite troops were beaten back by David's men. There was a great slaughter that day, and 20,000 men laid down their lives. The battle raged all across the countryside, and more men died because of the forest than were killed by the sword. During the battle, Absalom happened to come upon some of David's men. He tried to escape on his mule, but as he rode beneath the thick branches of a great tree, his hair got caught in the tree. His mule kept going and left him dangling in the air. One of David's men saw what had happened and told Joab, "I saw Absalom dangling from a great tree." "What?" Joab demanded. "You saw him there and didn't kill him? I would have rewarded you with 10 pieces of silver and a hero's belt." "I would not kill the king's son for even 1,000 pieces of silver," the man replied to Joab. "We all heard the king say to you and Abishai and Ittai, 'For my sake, please spare young Absalom.' And if I have betrayed the king by killing his son, and the king would certainly find out who did it, you yourself would be the first to abandon me." "Enough of this nonsense," Joab said. Then he took 3 daggers and plunged them into Absalom's heart as he dangled, still alive, in the great tree. 10 of Joab's young armor-bearers then surrounded Absalom and killed him. Then Joab blew the ram's horn, and his men returned from chasing the army of Israel. They threw Absalom's body into a deep pit in the forest and piled a great heap of stones over it, and all of Israel fled to their homes. During his lifetime, Absalom had built a monument to himself in the king's valley, for he said, "I have no son to carry on my name." He named the monument after himself, and it is known as Absalom's monument to this day. Then Zadok, son Ahimaaz, said, "Let me run to the king with the good news that the Lord has rescued him from his enemies." "No," Joab told him, "it wouldn't be good news to the king that his son is dead. You can be my messenger another time, but not today." Then Joab said to a man from Ethiopia, "Go tell the king what you have seen." The man bowed and ran off. But Ahimaaz continued to plead with Joab, "Whatever happens, please let me go too." "Why should you go, my son?" Joab replied. "There will be no reward for your news." "Yes, but let me go anyway," he begged. Joab finally said, "All right, go ahead." So Ahimaaz took the less demanding route by way of the plain and ran to Mahanaim ahead of the Ethiopian. While David was sitting between the inner and outer gates of the town, the watchman climbed to the roof of the gateway by the wall. As he looked, he saw a lone man running toward him. He shouted the news down to David, and the king replied, "If he is alone, he has news." As the messenger came closer, the watchman saw another man running toward him. He shouted down, "Here comes another one." The king replied, "He also will have news." "The first man looks like Ahimaaz, son of Zadok," the watchman said. "He is a good man and comes with good news," the king replied. Then Ahimaaz cried out to the king, "Everything is all right." He bowed before the king with his face to the ground and said, "Praise to the Lord your God, who has handed over the rebels who dare to stand against my lord the king." "What about the young Absalom?" the king demanded. "Is he all right?" Ahimaaz replied, "When Joab told me to come, there was a lot of commotion, but I didn't know what was happening." "Wait here," the king told him. So Ahimaaz stepped aside. Then the man from Ethiopia arrived and said, "I have good news for my lord the king. Today the Lord has rescued you from all those who rebelled against you." "What about young Absalom?" the king demanded. "Is he all right?" And the Ethiopian replied, "May all your enemies, my lord the king, both now and in the future, share the fate of that young man." The king was overcome with emotion. He went up to the room over the gateway and burst into tears. And as he went, he cried, "Oh, my son Absalom, my son Absalom, if only I had died instead of you. Oh, Absalom, my son, my son." Word soon reached Joab that the king was weeping and mourning for Absalom. As all the people heard of the king's deep grief for his son, the joy of that day's victory was turned into deep sadness. They crept back into the town that day as though they were ashamed and had deserted in battle. The king covered his face with his hands and kept on crying, "Oh, my son Absalom! Oh, Absalom, my son, my son!" Then Joab went to the king's room and said to him, "We saved your life today, and the lives of your sons, your daughters, and your wives and concubines. Yet you act like this, making us feel ashamed of ourselves. You seem to love those who hate you and hate those who love you. You have made it clear today that your commanders and troops mean nothing to you. It seems that if Absalom had lived and all of us had died, you would have been pleased. Now go out there and congratulate your troops, for I swear by the Lord, if you don't go out, not a single one of them will remain here tonight. Then you will be worse off than ever before." So the king went out and took his seat at the town gate, and as the news spread throughout the town that he was there, everyone went to him. Meanwhile, the Israelites who had supported Absalom fled to their homes, and throughout all the tribes of Israel there was much discussion and argument going on. The people were saying, "The king rescued us from our enemies and saved us from the Philistines, but Absalom chased him out of the country. Now Absalom, who we anointed to rule over us, is dead. Why not ask David to come back and be our king again?" Then King David sent Zadok and Abiathar the priests to say to the elders of Judah, "Why are you the last ones to welcome back the king into his palace? For I have heard that all of Israel is ready. You are my relatives, my own tribe, my own flesh and blood. So why are you the last ones to welcome back the king?" And David told them to tell Amasa, "Since you are my own flesh and blood, like Joab, may God strike me and even kill me if I do not appoint you as commander of my army in his place." Then Amasa convinced all the men of Judah, and they responded unanimously. They sent word to the king, "Return to us, and bring back all who are with you." So the king started back to Jerusalem, and when he arrived at the Jordan River, the people of Judah came to Gilgal to meet him and escort him across the river. Shimei, son of Gera, the man from Baharaim in Benjamin, hurried across with the men of Judah to welcome King David. 1,000 other men from the tribe of Benjamin were with him, including Ziba, the chief servant of the house of Saul, and Ziba's 15 sons and 20 servants. They rushed down the Jordan to meet the king. They crossed the shallows of the Jordan to bring the king's household across the river, helping him in every way they could. As the king was about to cross the river, Shimei fell down before him. "My lord the king, please forgive me," he pleaded. "Forget the terrible thing your servant did when you left Jerusalem. May the king put it out of his mind. I know how much I sinned. That is why I have come here today, the very first person in all Israel, to greet my lord the king." Then Abishai, son of Zeruiah, said, "Shimei should die, for he cursed the Lord's anointed king." "Who asked your opinion, you sons of Zeruiah?" David exclaimed. "Why have you become my adversary today? This is not a day for execution, for today I am once again king of Israel." Then turning to Shimei, David vowed, "Your life will be spared." Now Mephibosheth, Saul's grandson, came down from Jerusalem to meet the king. He had not cared for his feet, trimmed his beard, or washed his clothes since the day the king left Jerusalem. "Why didn't you come with me, Mephibosheth?" the king asked him. Mephibosheth replied, "My lord the king, my servant Ziba deceived me. I told him, 'Saddle my donkey so I can go with the king,' for as you know, I am crippled. Ziba has slandered me by saying that I refuse to come. But I know that the Lord my king is like an angel of God, so do what you think is best. All my relatives and I could expect only death from you, my lord, but instead you have honored me by allowing me to eat at your table. What more can I ask?" "You have said enough," David replied. "I have decided that you and Ziba will equally divide your land between you." "Give him all of it," Mephibosheth said. "I am content just to have you safely back again, my lord the king." Barzillai of Gilead had come down from Regolim to escort the king across the Jordan. He was very old, 80 years of age, and very wealthy. He was the one who had provided food for the king during his stay at Mahanaim. "Come across with me and live in Jerusalem," the king said to Barzillai. "I will take care of you there." "No," he replied. "I am far too old to go with the king to Jerusalem. I am 80 years old today, and I can no longer enjoy anything. Food and wine are no longer tasty, and I cannot hear the singers as they sing. I would only be a burden to my lord the king. Just to go across the Jordan River with the king is all the honor I need. Then let me return again to die in my own town, where my father and mother are buried. But here is your servant, my son Kaham. Let him go with my lord the king and receive whatever you want to give." "Good," the king agreed. "Kaham will go with me, and I will help him in any way you would like, and I will do for you anything you want." So all the people crossed the Jordan with the king, and after David had blessed Barzillai and kissed him, Barzillai returned to his own home. The king then crossed over to Gilgal, taking Kaham with him. All the troops of Judah and half the troops of Israel escorted the king on his way. But all the men of Israel complained to the king, "The men of Judah stole the king and didn't give us the honor of helping take you, your household, and all your men across the Jordan." The men of Judah replied, "The king is one of our own kinsmen. Why shouldn't this make you angry? Why should this make you angry? We haven't eaten any of the king's food or received any special favors." "But there are 10 tribes in Israel," the others replied, "so we have 10 times as much right to the king as you do. What right do you have to treat us with such contempt? Weren't we the first to speak of bringing him back to be our king again?" The argument continued back and forth, and the men of Judah spoke even more harshly than the men of Israel. All right. We had a long little reading there today. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today. Appreciate it. Wow, we had some moments here. So, just to back it up even beyond what we read today, David slept with Bathsheba, and that was the wife of Uriah the Hittite. And then he did this kind of as the king took another man's wife, which was against the law. And after he gets confronted with all his cover-up, Nathan the prophet tells him what God says, and it basically says, look, God's forgiven you, but because of this, your family is going to be in turmoil with you. And so then we see just this awful story of one of the king's sons raping his brother's daughter, which is kind of like his sister. They're all like kin to some extent, right? And they're all like kind of half brothers. David's their father, but they all have different, like Ammon and Absalom have different mothers. I mean, obviously David has many wives at this point. And so, and in that culture in the day, it would have been totally fine for Amnon to marry Tamar. It wouldn't have been that, like, unwise, or, like, he definitely could have asked. He could have asked the king, and the king would have granted his request, right? But he just foolishly wants to... He's just overcome with lust for her. He sees her, she's a beautiful woman, and he's overcome with lust. And let's be honest, like, I'm a man. Like, there's some men out here in the listening. There's some women out here. I mean, women are beautiful. Like, they're beautiful. And men throughout time and still to this day lust after women. It's just a way. But that doesn't give us excuses to do these kinds of things. We still have to do right by women. And this is not doing right. This is not doing right by the time of the culture and anything else. And, okay, so Absalom's Tamar's father, or Tamar's, I don't remember. No, I think it's Tamar's, maybe Tamar's his sister. I think Tamar's Absalom's sister. Anyways, Absalom's pissed about it, and he's plotting revenge because David doesn't seem to be doing enough about the situation. David hears about it. He's not happy about it either, but he knows that this is a strenuous situation, and here's why. David just took another man's wife and then killed the man. So he's already a little bit on edge, and people kind of know what happened, right? Like, this news, like, it's not just some random guy. Okay, we're going to find out later. This is one of David's, like, most trusted, loyal soldiers who's been around him for a long time. That's how close it is. It's like taking a close friend's wife and then killing your close friend. Okay, so everyone basically knew Uriah the Hittite around David's family. It wasn't a mystery to who it was. They probably also knew his wife Bathsheba. And so now that David's got Bathsheba, they're kind of probably looking at this like, how how is this good, right? So the whole family's like, David's kind of done this, and he's killed Uriah the Hittite. Okay, like these are like the stories we see. I mean, there's movies written about this stuff and storylines, and people love this gossip. Okay, but everyone knows what's happening, and so respect has been lost by the family towards David because they're like, how could you possibly steal this man's wife and then kill him? And now your own son rapes your own daughter, and you're doing nothing about it. And so more and more, they're just like, what's happening here? Hold on a second, guys. Sorry. Anyway, so Absalom plans for the revenge. He's like, I can't handle it anymore. I can't be around Amnon. I can't be part of this family if there's no justice being done. So he takes it done. He's been working. So he takes out Amnon, and then after he gets basically banished from the kingdom for a while, but eventually Joab brings him back, and now he starts wooing the people over little by little, and now he wants to take over the kingdom. And again, all this was kind of promised. Thank you, Spacey. And so he basically tries to a coup to take over the kingdom from his father, and he gets the right people involved. And in order to do this, you have to win over the people's hearts, and then you have to get the army to back it up, because whenever you take over a kingdom, you're going to have to fight and war for it. And David is a good warrior, and he's got people around him all the time. So David flees when he realizes what's happening. He leaves 10 of his concubines. So concubines back in those days were basically wives of the king. There generally were, so how they worked, they're kind of like slave wives to some extent. Generally they were the slaves of his wives that he married in whatever ways. And then we've seen this principle happen before, all the way back with Abraham, where they would have a servant, and then they would give their servant over to the husband to sleep with them to propagate more children. So that's generally what a concubine was. It was generally the wife gave over the woman to the husband, and because those servants really couldn't leave, so they really couldn't get their own families back in those days. So oftentimes the husband would then propagate some more family line through the servant girl. Okay. Anyway, so he left 10 of them to watch over the house. Absalom then basically, in open public, and this was what was prophesied by Nathan, that one of your own family members will sleep with your wives. Okay? So, we see this just sexual innuendo of things happening, but it's a punishment to David. It's a punishment to David for what he has done wrong. God still loves David. David's after God's heart, but he's done wrong, and there's consequences for it. And this is really harsh, and it makes almost no sense on a cultural level to where we live today. But the kingdoms back in those days, and you still see kingdoms throughout the world today that operate like this. The king can kind of do whatever he wants. He's kind of supposed to have multiple wives and propagate a lot of children so that his kingdom will flourish after he's gone, and it stays in the family lines. But you can see the family lines, it's just like any other story we've read in the Bible so far. Like jealousy and people wanting power that's not theirs, that's not given to them by the Lord. Well, they just start to eventually take it. And this storyline's never going to stop throughout time. People want power. They want control. They want the kingdoms. I mean, David is super powerful, super successful. He has all the resources at him, and he's got a beautiful, huge harem of women at his disposal. What dude doesn't want that? I mean, Let's just be fair and honest. Uh, so anyway, so Absalom is a beautiful man. He's like, I want to take over. I want all the wives. I want all these things, you know? That sounds great. Anyways, we see this story play out, and Joab just is like, dude, once they go to war, once all this deceit happens, Joab's like, I'm killing Absalom. He realizes that the kingdom will still be at civil war if he doesn't get rid of Absalom. So he gets rid of Absalom, even despite the order of David. David doesn't want to be seen killing the son and taking revenge because he knows that Absalom did the right thing of killing Amnon to some extent. The Real Housewives of Israel. Uh, anyways. Okay, so what is the lesson to learn here? One, right? When we do these cover-ups, right? We talked about this last time. Like, it doesn't go well for us. And then we get into like absolutely nasty situations later, and we don't realize it sometimes right away, but when we start covering things up, we start down this slippery slope of making less and less wise choices. And we start to let things maybe slide. David took somebody's life by sleeping with a woman, and now he's like, I don't want to make the same mistake again by taking Amnon's life, even though he slept with, a half sister. And he doesn't want to see his own kids killed. And we've seen that. He lost his son. He lost his son just recently with the baby that he conceived with Bathsheba when he slept with her the first time. And we see how grieved he was. He doesn't want to lose his son. Amnon gets killed. He's grieved by that. And now he doesn't want to lose Absalom, right? Like, as a father, I get it. Like, even if you're to father all people by different wives, you don't want to lose your children. And as a good father, you love them. You don't want to lose them. What do you do when they're making grave mistakes, though? And justice needs to be done. Like, this is something I tell my kids all the time. I'm a father of 6. And I say, look, I love you guys. I'm always going to love you guys. But there are certain things that if you do, we might not be in fellowship anymore. Right? I have to protect my kids that are here. If you're going to do things that are absolute, like if you're going to choose on your own accord to do something that is so dangerous and bad for the rest of the family, you're going to have to go. We're going to have to put a boundary up. Look, if you do something illegal, get yourself arrested and murder someone or kill somebody, like, I mean, I'm just taking it to the massive extreme. Like, there are going to be consequences for that, and your choices are going to separate us. Does that mean I won't love you? I'll love you, but we're going to have consequences for things. And when you stop giving consequences for doing wrong to your own children or family, you're not teaching them, you're not loving them, you're enabling them. And that doesn't help them grow, that doesn't help them become. And so, will I love them if they do something totally outrageous? I'll love them, but I can't not let them have the consequences. Can we use Jackie Chan as an example? I don't know Jackie Chan's storyline. So, are you saying his movies, he disowned both of his kids? Right. I mean, here's the thing. So, as a dad, as the person who's the authority, and even as a mom who has children, right? And this is probably even tougher for a mother. Right? Like, you will always love your kids. Like, you birthed them, you brought them into this world. No matter what happens, you'll love them. But eventually, the long-term goal of raising your children is to hopefully let them become decent citizens of society, to go out and become good adults. And so as a parent, you can have whatever rules and stipulations and morality that you want, and your kids have to abide by that while they're in your house. Okay? If they don't want to, then they go and live with their own. They go live on their own and they get to do whatever they want. If they don't abide by those rules and you just let them, you're just enabling them and saying, "Well, my word didn't mean anything." Um because I didn't actually put any consequences to it that mattered. Like, your word has to mean something, that you say, these are the rules and there are some consequences that are going to happen. David knew the rules in this story, and now he's getting consequences from God. Okay? And to some extent, David's not necessarily fighting God on it. Okay? Because he knows God is his father. He's like, I know God loves me, and he's putting these consequences out there because I did wrong. But at the end of the day, I want relation with God. So even if all the men in the world chase me, what I care about is having relationship with God. So the consequences come, and he's like, these are sent as a punishment to me from God, so I will learn a lesson to not do these things again, to make sure that I don't just do whatever I want in my own sight. We saw that throughout the Bible. People did whatever they thought was right in their own sight. David did whatever he thought was right in that moment with Bathsheba. Okay? And now he has to face the consequences, and he's facing them the best that he can here. So, so the lesson is, right, like, and it can get really nasty, and sometimes God uses the punishment that is fitting, which is the thing. Like, he's like, look, you took another man's wife, you took another man's wives, I'm going to have your son sleep with your wives. I mean, that just sounds absolutely wrong and gross and disgusting. And he's like, and you did it privately, I'm going to do it publicly. This is like, it is humiliation. This is like an understanding of how far this sin has really messed up here, right? And the consequences of it. There were consequences. The consequence was tons of people are lost. Tons of your army is going to be lost. Tons of respect is going to be lost for your kingdom. Your kingdom was doing well, but now you've lost it. So that's where it comes for us, guys. Like, when we sin badly, all the goodwill and respect and authority that we and goodwill that we have brought on with people and with God, it gets lost. And you're going to have to really humble yourself, go back to the drawing board and start again. And you kind of have to own your part in the journey. It can't just be covered up. You have to just start over, start fresh. And just like a kid that wanders away, if they want to come back, they know the rules. As a father or a mother, you want to bring them back, but they know the rules. They have to turn away from those things that they're doing that you said, hey, these aren't allowed in my home. And if they don't, you can't just come back. That's why Absalom kind of wasn't allowed back at first. David said, nah, we can't have this guy. He killed somebody. But he brought him back, says, no, you can't see me. But Absalom is refusing to not see the king. But you can see that Absalom and the king really don't see each other very much. And I think David wants to keep him at bay because he's like, this guy's a murderer. I don't really trust him. And maybe he shouldn't trust his own son. But it's good to just release some of those things. Sometimes over time people do change. They get better. It's hard to trust somebody that's hurt us. It's really hard. I know that. Like, I've been hurt. I'm sure all of you, you're humans. You've been hurt by somebody, whether it's a really close family member, whether it's an organization or a group of people. We've all been hurt. We've all been hurt by somebody. And it's hard to retrust that person sometimes. But if they truly are humble and repent, own what they've done, sometimes we have to give them another shot. Sometimes. I mean, that's a little bit what this story's about here. And to not just keep them at harm's bay and say, okay, well, I'll kind of let you in. You have to know people. You have to know what they truly want. So, all right. That's enough for today. We've really run long, so I appreciate you guys all being here. Thanks for hanging out. I hope this story was tough. We have a lot of difficult things in this story, and like I said in past ones, one of the things I love about Bible stories is they don't sugarcoat it. There's some really difficult parts of life, and many of us have lived through difficult parts of life. And some of us might be living through difficult seasons right now. It's just, we're living life. Bad things are going to happen. It's part of the storyline, unfortunately. And when we see these rough seasons and we see these storylines, we see that people often don't get it right, and sometimes they make matters worse. So if the story doesn't seem to be getting better for you right now, we just keep holding out hope that it will get better. Let's try to do whatever we can in our power and authority to make the situation as best as we can. And let's just ask God for help in it. Let's own our part of the storyline, and then journey from there. Hopefully we'll have some better news about the kingdom soon. I am not going to promise you anything. David's back to being king of all of it, but we see already some dissension between the tribes of Judah and the other 10 tribes of Israel, besides the Benjaminites. The Benjamites, another tribe. They're all under David right now, but we'll see. We're going to see how this plays out going forward. Go ahead. Yeah, ask some questions. Any comments you want, feel free before we go. Good to see you guys. I will be back hopefully later tonight for poker, and then study stream on Monday night with Binks as my co-host. And then we'll be back for Tuesday morning. Some guy said to me the other day, when you get signs from God, that means you're in the devil's playground. And when the dark stuff tries pulling you in, you're in God's playground. All right. I mean, this might have been close to what I said to you, but not exact. I think it's a little bit backwards there. We are in the in-between between the two. The war between God and the devil constantly go on. Right? The war between good and evil, light and darkness constantly go on. We are always in the middle. The question is which kingdom do we want to align with? That's really what it comes down to. And so we might see signs from God, right? Does that mean we're in the devil's playground? No. I mean, we could just kind of be in the middle doing nothing, but each of them are trying to get our attention some way or the other. And each of us want them to move closer to their side. So God doesn't give up trying to get us to move closer to him, and the devil doesn't give up trying to get us to move closer to him. So if you get signs from God, does that mean you're in the devil's playground? That's not necessarily true. You could be getting signs from God and you're closer to God, right? I think that we're always in a process as well, no matter where we are in the spectrum. Like, whether we totally committed our hearts to God or not, the devil doesn't give up on us. Whether we totally committed our hearts to sin and doing evil, God doesn't give up on us, right? So to that point, that's what you're saying a little bit. But if we're moving towards God, God still gives us more signs, right? And the devil keeps trying to pull more things back at us. Like, neither give up on their journey of their part of the storyline. They're both doing their part of the storyline to draw us to themselves and to get us to do their bidding. The question is whose bidding are we doing? And then who are we trying to listen to? And we have to learn to listen to God. I think we all know how to listen to the devil, actually, fairly well sometimes. Just look at the world around us. Most of us find ourselves doing wrong from time to time, and that's pretty easy to hear. It's hearing and doing God's will, which is harder for us to do. It's against our natural inclination until we train ourselves to naturally point to listening to God first and foremost. David showed that early in his journey of listening to God, not taking vengeance on his own, and now we're seeing that slightly unravel, right? He did his own thing, then he took his own vengeance and covered up a story. That's not listening to God at all, right? So you see the two polarities of it. It's a polarity, and we're in the middle. So our goal is to get off the middle and move one way or the other. I mean, there's lots of forks in the road. There's lots of forks in the road. Sometimes there's multiple forks that could be okay, and there's one that's best, and God is okay with any of those that we choose. But there's also ones that there's also forks where the devil leads us astray, right? The road is narrow, it says, and few find it. So there's generally a best way. The best way isn't always an easy way, but it's the way that God wants. And so God knows that the enemy will continue to come after us. If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. Exactly, right? So what's at the end of the road is not always it. That one person I used to listen to a lot, he said this, and it's great. It's not that we're always just trying to reach the destination. The journey is the destination. The journey with God. The goal is to be with God. Okay? That goal is to be now. It's the process on the roads that are important. The destination may or may not come. You might just be on a nice journey with God and you see a beautiful vista over it, but then you're going to come back out and go into a valley where you're going to have to fight a war. And like God's totally okay with that whole journey, even though you might not have said, well, I didn't say I wanted to step up and fight a war. Well, you did. You did. You took the journey with God. And so you have to sometimes fight. And that's what we see with all these storylines. We have to fight. And the fight we're doing is not against flesh and blood and physical anymore. We're not supposed to just pick up swords and kill people. We are supposed to journey with God and learn to fight the battles against the devil. And so, how does that work these days? Right? How does it work to fight against, like Jackie Chan's kids who are doing things that he thinks are unreasonable, right? To be a druggie. He's like, you can't be a druggie and be in my house. He has a morality clause that his kids can't, that he wants them to live a straight life. Okay? That's his choice. He gets to do that, right? And as a dad, he can want that for his kids, okay? He thinks that that's the appropriate method, okay? So he says you can't do these in mine. So that's his rules. He's made the rules. Like, we also get to learn to make rules and apply them and uphold them in our lives, okay? We also get to see the consequences of that, which is, are the rules more important or is the relationship more important? Okay? Well, it's kind of an in-between phase there. That's where there's lots of forks in the road of how you navigate these things. Okay? And that is a hard place for everyone to live in, and nobody can do it perfectly well on their own. Right? You need friends to help you, you need church families, you need regular families, you need God to help you navigate all these journeys. And you have to fight for that which you think is important. And so he cut them off. That was what he thought was the best thing. He didn't want to enable them any longer to choose those lifestyles. Does that mean he would never take them back? I don't know. I don't know Jackie Chan. I don't know his heart. But as a dad, I'm sure he wants to have relation with his kids, but he's like, you can't do things you can't do these things and have relation with me. That's the rules he set up for his kids. So they get to choose what they want. We all get to choose what we want to do. Our goal is to keep choosing. Our goal and our journey and the destination is to choose. Our destination is God, our choice is God, and along the journey we want to choose God. We want to choose to be in relation with him and keep relation. So how do we do that? Well, we have to learn to hear him and understand what he expects from us in each of our seasons, right? He doesn't expect the same things from me now that he did when I was 20, because I wasn't really following God very much when I was 20. Which is fine. Yeah, so the roads we take, the choices we make along the way are important. The little things, the process, are more important than the end destination. The end destination is us becoming more and more like God, which seems really far-fetched because we are very far from looking like God in our human standpoint. But we're supposed to become more and more like, we're made in the image of God. And like we said, we're in this playground in the middle, but each choice we make says we're aligning with that kingdom, and that gives us the opportunity to navigate the roads, whatever they look like, well. So, and don't just take the easy road. The easy road typically doesn't have a lot of hard choices that make us become more like God. That's just my 2 cents here. Okay. All right. I belittled it. I think you got it. Thank you for being here. Wow. We've gone super long today, which is great. I don't care. I can talk forever, it seems like, but I'm going to go to church this morning in a few. Love you guys so much. Thanks for being here. Have a wonderful Sunday. I will be back later on for, as long as it's not too stormy, I'll be back later on for a poker session tonight, study stream tomorrow night, and back to the Bible stories on Tuesday morning. A little note. I didn't say this earlier. I'll say it now because there's a few people here. We will not have a stream, a Bible story stream on Friday this week. My wife has a doctor's appointment at 6:30 in the morning that I have to be there with her at. So, unfortunately, I can't. That can't be scheduled, and she can't go by herself. So, we will not have a Friday morning Bible story this week, but we'll be back. We'll be back Tuesday at least, and I'll remind you guys again then. So, love you guys. Yeah, I hope so too. I mean, it's just we're getting to the age where you have to do more tests and things like that because they just want to start taking. You want to take inventory of where you are in life at your health things and having I don't know, what do they call it, a baseline of where some numbers are on these things and stuff. You have to do these things, and yeah. Oh, she eats well. She does well. Like this is not a there's no medicine needed for this. It's just a baseline test. She just lost her mom a few months ago, and they definitely want to do more tests because they if you kind of lose a parent to something, in the same way that we talked about with different decisions, if you lose a parent in some way, maybe your body is more inclined, your physical makeup, your DNA is more inclined to be susceptible to certain diseases. And you want to verify that they aren't taking hold in your body right now, right? If you deal with something early and you say, no, we're not going to have this, you have a better chance of fighting off something better than it taking a stronghold in your life. If you give the enemy full control and playground in your life, it's much harder to get rid of them. And in the same way, you give disease a full control over your life without dealing with it, it's much harder then to deal with. The consequences to get rid of are pretty hard, and then you have to start doing surgery and cut stuff open and to try to get rid of it. And then you have to take things to, again, the principles apply both to our spiritual lives and our healthy lives. We aren't going to live forever, okay? Like, for all of you listening, we're all going to die someday. It's just the reality of life. We're going to die at some point. Yeah, but let's try to make choices to help us live good, healthy lives so that we are fighting the good fight, fighting for our bodies, fighting for our minds, fighting for our spirits, fighting for others as well, and saying, hey, let's do a little bit better than we have before, right? And so she's doing a procedure to get a baseline. That's it. No indications that there's any problems right now, so which is good. But either way, just being transparent, we have to go do that. So won't be here on Friday. All right, that's it. Love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. And I will see you guys again probably later today. Thank you. Thank you, Soda Champ, for the raid, by the way. Make sure you guys are following Soda Champ. Also, I know that Space Cadet is a streamer. I also know that Eric is a streamer. So make sure you guys are all following them as well. Give them all a follow, and I will see you guys again later on this evening. Love you. Bye.